Welcome to Kubinashi Recollection. This is a commentary on my latest personal best and current world record for the all puzzle pieces on New Game Plus category. I'll explain more as we go. For now, timing starts on, well, start. So right away, I'm going to open the menu and fast travel to World 1, as navigating the hub world is as annoying as it is in fast. The game is a puzzle platformer starring Sekibanki, and pretty much right away, you're going to see the most important technique in the entire game, the jump bounce. Sekibanki can't jump high, so she needs to bounce on her heads. Bouncing on the head in the air grants a bit of extra height and distance that ends up being required for a lot of the jumps you'll see me doing. There's more to explain, but the game is fast, so bear with me as I go. 1-2 is the introduction to that thing I did last stage, where I shot my head. These heads travel a distance of 4 blocks, break certain blocks, grab objects, and can be fired forward or above. They cost a head to use, listed up in the left corner. Each stage gives you a limited amount of heads per stage, hence the puzzle part of the platformer. 1-3 introduces the keys and key blocks, so let me take this moment to explain that each stage has a puzzle piece within it, and as the category name implies, I'm getting all of them. Some of these pieces are on the beaten path, while others require quite a bit of extra work to grab. 1-4 introduces color switches that give as much bounce for Banki as a head does. It is also the first instance of what I call a pickup jump. If you press the pickup button on the same frame you bounce, Sekibanki will take the object she bounced on with her. This is obviously quite powerful, but as I'm pretty confident it's frame perfect, it's not worth going for unless it's still faster than doing the stage normally after multiple failed attempts. 1-5 is a culmination of everything from the last few stages, so let me explain the category, specifically the New Game Plus. I can start on a complete file and access every stage, but I still do them in order. The benefit here is when grabbing the end of the stage gem, you can quick retry, pause, and exit the hub. In a new game setting, you have to wait out the fanfare, and in the case of stage 5, an unskippable cutscene that is avoided by closing and reopening the game. New Game Plus avoids the need to do this, and keeps the action going at a faster pace. It's more fun, in my opinion. Once World 1 is done, I'm going to do the same fast travel method to World 2. It's nice that the option starts on the world you're currently in. 2-1 introduces conveyor belts. General rule of thumb is jump on the ones sending you back, and run along the ones pushing you forward. Here I'm going for a neat little trick to get a throw jump where my head stays on the red blocks, while also giving me enough extra oomph to hit the switch right away, causing the head to fall onto the conveyor below, and remove some of the waiting I'd have to do otherwise to pick the head back up. 2-2 introduces enemies that effectively force a restart. They're on a consistent cycle, so as long as everything goes as it's supposed to, they never pose an issue. I forgot to mention, but heads can activate key blocks too, so I have to jump a bit away to unlock the exit, then double back to get the piece. Two 3 is where the game initially introduces the concept of projectile heads being able to grab keys. The piece in this level is right above the goal, and missing this rather precise corner jump costs over 10 seconds. You'll notice I hesitated a bit before jumping. 2-4 is a bit of an auto-scroller that I've never done without a retry right at the start. The piece requires a bit of a detour that doesn't really change much from the non-piece way. If I do it just right, I can get in front of this enemy's cycle, saving some amount of time. 2-5 starts with going left to grab a puzzle piece that isn't visible on screen. Its presence is indicated by a unique piece of background. After that, I'm going to try and set up this head so I can bounce over the key blocks, while also being able to jump back without accidentally bouncing on it again. Then jump bouncing to unlock the green key block and break open the path in the safest way. To touch on that head setup, it's actually pretty easy to end up bouncing on a head when you don't want to. Here I try to have the head poke out a bit so I can grab it while jumping up. This also saves minimal time, as jumping early means less time sliding down the wall waiting to get into the narrow path. You'll see it here right at the end of World 2. Three 1 introduces ice blocks that break under Sekibanki's weight. By setting up a head on this corner, I can get the piece while preserving a staircase to continue. My jumps on this ice bridge are deliberate, letting me get up to hit the switch faster, getting a jump bounce to grab the key faster, then using the last 2 blocks to hit the green switch right away. that pickup jump was an accident. Then unlocking the third key block, as I can still grab the gem from the side, a minuscule time save. 3-2 introduces falling icicles that have no bearing on the run. Using the throw bounce, I can skip the whole lower part of the stage, hitting the switch to let us double back to the piece. I'm throwing this head early so I can re-grab it on return, but also because I still needed to finish the stage, so losing it in the pit would be pretty costly. As the name implies, 3-3 is bunny hops, that throw bounces. The left side has a piece under an ice block, so I'll have to set it off on the way back. It is possible to slide onto the block without bouncing, but missing it equals impalement. I didn't go for it here, since I tried, and failed, in my last PB, evident by the big time save on the splits. 3-4 is simple in its looks, but it actually has a few precise jumps. Landing on that block while breaking the one in front of you isn't as simple as I'd like. Afterwards, I dig out the piece and key, and use a headshot to grab the other key. The way back isn't as scary since there's a spring down there on the left, but it feels nice to hit the jumps. 3-5 is a lot of ice blocks. Since I had to use my only head to bounce up to the piece, I have to make sure to clear the way forward. I also have to go back for the head the same way, so I can grab the piece then as well. The levels are going to get more involved going forward, so I'll be explaining accordingly. I hope at least at this point I've covered the important base mechanics. Another jump bounce and ice staircase climb to finish World 3. Four 1 introduces magic statues that need to be pushed to designated spots to clear certain blocks. It's important that this first head doesn't fall down, as we're gonna want to grab it later. I'm sorry, little one. While you don't have to hit all 8 of these blocks, you do need to unlock the upper right box. Fortunately, hitting all 8 seems to always do that for you anyways. 4-2 introduces question marks that activate certain blocks based on whether or not certain objects are within it. This is the first stage since 1-4 where I'm going for a pickup jump. If you were wondering why I didn't bother trying them in the stages in between, it's because the alternative to missing the pickup is missing the jump. Not as much of a problem if there's solid ground below you, but still not what you want. 4-3 is a stage where I have trouble seeing where I want to drop through the title card. I'm setting up this head on the right, then using another bounce over the statues so I can immediately start pushing them the right directions, making sure the head is on the blue blocks so when I hit the switch again, the head will fall in front of me. Afterwards, I'll bounce on the red switch and set up my head for a quick bounce over the raised wall to get the piece. Oops, little menu mismanagement there. 4-4 starts by opening up the top of this brick staircase, then pushing the red statue before blasting out. A throw bounce here to get the piece up the cliff, then falling to activate the ice. I jump around the ice to make sure to break the ice below without touching the green statue, so it'll fall into its designated place without issue, then hitting the red switch again to head for the goal. 4-5 starts off with a pickup jump. I bounce on this red switch to free the blue statue, then return the path forward. Then unlock the key blocks while waiting for the statue, then bouncing up to change the conveyor direction with the gray switch. Newly introduced, by the way. This pickup jump is my least favorite part of the whole run, so let me tell you what are some of the other categories of this game. There's normal mode, 9th head mode, all puzzle pieces, and 100%. All but 100% have New Game Plus versions, and New Game Plus still has to play all levels in intended order. Normal mode is completing all stages. 9th head is the same, but in this mode you start every stage with 9 heads. All puzzle pieces is what you're watching right now, and 100% is all S ranks, achievements, costumes, and secret stages with pieces and S rank as well. A benefit of New Game Plus is getting to actually use those costumes. I'm using my favorite one, based on a glitch from Toho 18 where Shanghai clings to a boss's face. There we go. Anyways, the reason I'm doing this dumbass jump is because I need the last head to shoot grab the piece. You might have noticed by now that odd number worlds walk right, and even walk left. Very important to remember to avoid going in the wrong door. 5-1 immediately starts with a pickup jump into a throw bounce for the puzzle piece. This stage introduces a few things, starting with these bouncy blocks. If I jump just right, I can pretty much hold right. I also make sure to drop my head off before the set of 5. The green spring isn't new, but it is the first time I'm using it. It's effectively the same as a head, but gives a higher bounce. With it, I'll backtrack to the head and use it to get to the key. Afterwards, I'll take the spring back to the right. It's important that the bridge of 5 can sustain 3 trips. Five 2 starts with hitting this red switch before entering the cave. I'm going to throw the spring early so I can grab the extra head and the red key with a headshot, then use that head to escape with the spring. Another pickup jump is required to finish, so a quick note on the extra head is that it's not really extra. Think of it as part of your base resources, but you have to go pick it up. More puzzle for your platformer. I'll talk about this fairy in the next stage. 5-3 starts with not going right. You go left into the X pit, using heads to keep the spring and hit the red switch. Now I climb to get the key behind this fairy. Fairies try to tackle Bonky if she's in their line of sight. They don't hurt you, but trying to jump over them while going the same direction almost never works. After pushing this statue down, I can access the yellow switch to finish the stage. I'll need to pick up jump the spring for the piece. You can get this piece without hitting the blue switch with a well-timed jump, but it only saves about 3 seconds, whereas missing it costs about 40. Five 4 introduces bomb block trails that aren't important right now. You'll never guess what I have to do with this spring. After bouncing up the mountain for the key and piece, I grab one of the heads before ascending the left side of the stage. It's possible to toss the head during this bounce for a double bounce, but it doesn't save much time and it's much easier to screw up. 5-5 starts with grabbing all these keys before another pickup jump. Hitting that green key block is an instant restart. If that fairy hits you to the right, instant restart. Missing that jump after pushing the statue, you get the idea. After that, it's smooth sailing. I shoot ahead for this key to save some walking. Now I just need to push the statue to reach the exit. So you may have noticed that 1-4 was the first pickup jump of the run, and second wasn't until 4-2. Here we are in World 5, where every stage has required one of these jumps. I hope you think they're cool, because the back half of the run is going to have quite a bit more. Six 1 introduces beat blocks and head launchers. You retain a bit of control before the head turns to a cutscene. I hit this red switch and fire ahead into the launcher to open the way to the piece and exit. These node platforms are new too, and sound nice. A throw bounce to secure the piece before backtracking to grab the blue key with a slightly unintended headshot, and remembering to re-hit the red switch. There's not actually much room for time save in this stage, since I have to wait for the beat blocks anyways, though the categories that don't need the piece use a sequence of bounces to grab the gem from below. It's quite impressive. Six 2 starts with an immediate headshot. This white switch changes the direction of the red arrow blocks. At least it will when the cutscene ends. I effectively want to hit it once so I can shoot another head straight up on the way to this red switch. Afterwards, I'll backtrack to get the puzzle piece. I'd like to note a poor jump here can get Bonky's head wedged into a block, making you have to wait a whole other sequence. The last 2 heads break through the rest of the maze for the blue switch and key. Then a final spring bounce to the beat blocks. Since I have to wait for them anyways, I try to pick up jump to see if I can skip waiting, which I do. Six 3 is a lot of waiting for beat blocks, but it does feature a neat little pickup jump near the end. It's a good time to enjoy the music. The piece here is a headshot's distance from the required key. Considering there's a part of this stage I'll be skipping, it's nice that it's on the beaten path. I don't need the head in the question mark, it just makes the bounce up quicker. Here I'm going to do a pickup jump with a spring off of a bounce from the switch to get over the wall. It's a unique kind of tricky, and takes a while to try again if you're late on the input. Once over the wall, a jump bounce will clear the next, skipping the last section entirely. The entirety of 6-4 can be skipped with a pickup jump into a throw bounce, though I need to grab the piece in that key block with a well-timed headshot. The stage can be beaten in about 5 seconds. 6-5 starts with holding right to beat the blocks, then getting onto the notepads. Once the beat blocks turn again, I just climb over the wall, while the piece is directly along the way, once again skipping just about the entire stage. Seven 1 starts with a falling headshot to grab the blue key, a jumping headshot to grab the piece, and bouncing up to get some more keys. I try to position this head so when I run off to grab the keys, I'll bounce right back up. Then it's just a pickup jump and throw bounce to finish up. Seven 2 introduces the one bounce spring, which I'm going to use to immediately get the many bounce spring. After crossing the ice, I jump bounce to the chandeliers to get the yellow key, while doing a jump bounce in a way to have a head fall below and unlock a key block so I can get another key and the piece. Another jump bounce to clear the gap and get another head, then falling onto the yellow block for the last key to finish the stage, jump bouncing off the spring and extra head to reach the goal. 7-3 starts off with a pickup jump that you only need to do because holding a head above your head extends Bonky's grab range enough to grab this piece. Headshotting that red key is pretty tight. Another headshot with the extra head to cheese the blue key, then a jump bounce to get to the goal hole. 7-4 introduces warps that are kind of exclusive to this stage. With the spring, I'm going to skip right to the red key, then use the spring again to reach the piece with a headshot. The same thing is done on the right side for the blue key, but going the scenic route for the extra head. Once the blue switch is hit and spring is re-grabbed, I'm going to toss a head onto the key blocks to grab the yellow key for me, then bounce my way up to the goal. 7-5 features a scary double bounce, but before that, gotta splunk for some keys. With this spring, I'm going to throw a bounce into a throw bounce to get up to the chandeliers. That was really close, using the rest of my heads to bounce over the wall for the piece. I toss the head off the edge like a lion with their cubs to grab an extra head, and carry the other one still there past the key blocks, as I need to do 2 bounces to reach the goal, and it's nice when one of them isn't a pickup jump. Eight 1 introduces shooting enemies, basically spicy walls, don't touch. With a jump bounce, I'm getting this blue key and unlocking the block, but not grabbing the green key just yet. The goal of this level is to hit every switch once, and some are locked up. Before doing any of that, I'm going to have to retry as I threw this head poorly and blocked off the rest of the stage. But there are worse ways to have to restart here. For example, holding too much left from the purple spring collides you with the enemy. Quite fun to do when you're heading for the goal 50-ish seconds in. At least you can see why exactly I used that blue key ahead of time. I want the head in the right spot to grab the red key, and headshotting the piece along the way, so I can grab it on the way down. Now I'm going to hit the switches and unlock the boxes. At this point, I need to backtrack to the green key, which seems slow, though the alternative is shooting ahead to unlock the green key block, which means I'll need the yellow key for the piece, which is back behind the yellow switch. Requires 2 pickup jumps to reach, and the green switch hit. So either way, you're backtracking. But this route avoids doing 2 pickup jumps nearly 50 seconds into the stage. I feel you really have to try and mess up that last jump, but I do get a bit nervous every time. 8-2 starts with an attempt at a double bounce up the left wall to enable the question mark and get a red key. Afterwards, I toss a head onto the conveyors, then grab the other one while switching the conveyor direction and head to the lower right to both hit this blue switch and get the spring. Now the left side, where a throw bounce with the spring gives enough height to hit this red switch. After pushing the red statue into place, I do a swap of head and spring so I can bring the spring up to the right, while switching the conveyors again. Now I need to do 2 pickup jumps to reach the piece. This is why that question mark mattered at the start. I need to be careful I don't accidentally push the blue statue to the left and have to restart the stage. The conveyor change was required to get the yellow statue into place, and another pickup jump is required to finish. A3 introduces mochi blocks and black switches. The black switches flip certain platforms, and mochi blocks become large platforms when hit from below. Heads on the black switch platforms bounce up, which I need to get this red key. You'll hear the collect sound when I hit the switch again. I actually don't want to hit any mochi blocks this stage, as I can skip some of the level by pickup jumping onto this mochi. Well, I can pickup jump, just gotta get the whole landing on the mochi thing. Sometimes you just lose the rhythm, and recovering it is difficult. I can bounce around this enemy, and a good jump clears the gap. The safer option here is to get the yellow key. Instead, I'm going to pick up jump next to the goal, throw a bounce to headshot the piece, then finish. If you're curious, I have lost a run to that shot missing, while falling into the goal. A4 starts with a throw bounce to the left for a red key, tossing the head onto a platform to flip it into the question mark, tossing another head to fall into the blue key, then throw bouncing to hit a black switch. Another conveyor key scroller like 2-4, though a bit easier to mess up, and more costly to do so. I bounce on the 5th red switch, as I can reach the blue switch off the bounce. I throw the head into the key block, grab the extra head, and go back for the head that originally grabbed the first blue key. As far as I can tell, there's no danger of grabbing the goal with that jump. The piece requires a headshot at the end of the conveyor, so I use a throw bounce to reach it. Then it's just a matter of hopping against the conveyor and chaining a bounce to grab the goal. A5 zigzags to grab the blue key, avoid the center ice block, and hit the blue switch and mochi block, hitting the other mochi blocks, black switch, and the red switch twice before a throw, the regular, bouncing up the level. Now a throw bounce to grab the red and blue key. And I turned too early and broke the statue's back. The important thing is to not dwell on it and try again, though nerves really do feel like a geyser waiting to erupt in one way or another. After the blue statue, I hit the mochi block and take the head over to the red statue. Throw bounce onto the middle mochi where the statues are free to spring, and take the spring to get the yellow key. Bounce up to an extra head, and use that head to bounce to the piece before coming back down for the spring and end of the world. For some reason, the rule of even and odd world switches for the last 2 worlds. 9-1 introduces the most broken thing in the game, the gap. Right away, I'm setting it up to get into the corner of it with the spring, then throwing the spring to the left. Once I have the other gap in place, I take the blue gap to throw where I threw the spring. You can enter a thrown gap with well-timed input, and this skips needing a few keys. The spring is needed to reach the piece with a headshot. Then I need to do another very important trick, which I messed up. So let me explain it while I try again. Much like the pickup bounce, if you press pickup as soon as you come out of a gap, you'll grab the gap. I'm pretty sure this one is also frame perfect, but it's a lot easier than a pickup jump because the gaps are grounded, so your timing on the air throw isn't a variable, and the inputs for it come instantly after entering, so a rhythm for hitting 2 buttons is less spaced out. After grabbing the yellow key, I throw the orange gap under the red block, as it reduces the air time from the gap, so I can start shenanigans sooner. I'm going to gap jump 3 times, then do a dirty little technique patented by Nintendo. Throwing the gap right gets it wedged into the ceiling. This gets Bonky stuck too, but Bonky can pick up the gap and throw again, slightly increasing its height until eventually she comes out onto the goal. If you didn't quite get that, don't worry, the next stage will make it clear. 9-2 is a sequence of puzzle rooms that I don't want to do, so I won't. After getting the blue key, I'm going to gap clip and gap jump with the blue gap 3 times, doing the 4th with a bounce from my head, so I can put this gap where the blue key block is. Then it's button masher time. Missing any of those gap jumps is a restart, and you could use the head earlier to reduce the amount to 2. I just didn't, because I didn't. After ascending, I'll need to do a gap jump with the orange gap, then set it up to grab the piece. But I also take the time to set the blue gap up under the goal, so I can finish as soon as I get the piece. 9-3 takes the blue gap to the right and uses this fairy to launch over the enemy staircase. Now I'm going to wedge this gap into the ceiling. Grabbing the extra head lets me grab the key to the exit without playing much of any of the level. And to escape, gap clipping upwards, followed by a sequence of gap jumps to get to the piece. It was hard to see there, but due to the thinness of the floor, the third throw would have actually thrown the gap out of the wall, leaving Bonky stranded. So I did another instant enter like in 9-1 to avoid it. I'd also like to mention that enemy staircase is climbable through some precise corner jumps, but it's much harder than the gap clip. 9-4 enters the gap holding right to hit a black switch, then re-enters to headshot straight up to get the blue key. I'm going to gap jump to the green key, but I move the orange gap first to reduce airtime. Now I need to do a throw bounce out of the gap, which is more difficult than I made it look due to the snapping camera, and climb the block tower for the piece. I'm going to take the blue gap to the key blocks for the same reason as the orange gap, then get a gap jump with the orange gap for the red key. Then move the orange gap as close to the red blocks as possible. A headshot will unlock all 3 key blocks without risk of falling, then hitting the red switch before gapping to finish up. 9-5 is pretty long, opening with setting these 2 gaps up under the switch. In hindsight, going around to try again would have been faster than restarting. I get the head and hit the switch once, then, you guessed it, wedge the gap into the ceiling. Then I continue to anger Nintendo's legal department. A little time save is getting the gap jump to start moving right away. Of course, that time save crumples into dust as soon as you miss it once and almost walk into spikes multiple times. After bringing the blue gap to the key blocks, I enter the pit and grab the extra head, and hit the mochi blocks. Throw jumps here are another small time save. I bring the orange gap across to the statue before pulling it ahead to grab all but the red key, then gap to unlock the green key block, getting the green key and gapping back to unlock and hit the red switch. Now it's time to push the statue, all the while keeping that head I pulled out earlier in my hands to grab the red key. I return to the gap to unlock the funnel to the piece and keys, finally tossing my carried head over top of the piece, then returning to the gap, making sure to hit this red switch twice. I'll toss my last head with the gap into the question mark, bounce to hit the switch, and gap to begin the walk of World's End. Ten-1 introduces running water that functions like quicksand. I'm going to bring the orange gap all the way right near the yellow key. I don't actually care about the key, but I need to leave a head above the piece. Now I'm going to bring the orange gap to the mochi blocks, utilizing gap jumps to climb them without hitting them. Oh, Bonky, you sure do live up to your name in the worst way. That head was probably fine where it was, but I got worried. A jump bounce is done on the last mochi to shoot the bomb block for the first time, then grab the orange gap on the way down. The bomb block trail will cause that head I dropped earlier to fall into the piece. Now to wedge the gap again. This is another instant enter situation like 9-3. You can need to see me pause to prepare for it. 10-2 starts on a conveyor where I want to free the blue gap, so I can gap jump with it to do the thing with the ceiling. Oh, that was kinda close. Good thing it still worked. Now that I have the piece and blue gap in a good spot, I can start taking the orange gap to do more of the thing. The center of this segment is hollow, so I need to do an instant enter halfway. Then all I have to do is wedge the gap under the goal and begin the rhythm game. 10-3 is the longest stage in the game, so buckle up for the explanation. I go right to hit the red switch, so I can hit the green switch, then climb back up to hit the red switch again, then push the red statue to its goal. Now I go left to grab a head to jump bounce with to get the red key. then climb back up to start pushing the blue statue, being careful not to hit the blue switch yet. Now I climb the right side all the way up to push the green statue down, set up the white spring for later, and grab the yellow key. I fall down and hit the red switch and continue pushing the green statue. That movement was kinda sloppy. The statue catching on the platform was quite lucky, and makes up for the earlier part. Before I can finish pushing the green statue, I have to come to the right and do 2 pickup jumps with the head I've been carrying the whole time. I shoot the extra head from the water upward after grabbing the blue key to open the goal for later. Now I can push the green statue again, but I do need to unlock these blocks first. Now I'm climbing back to the top to push the yellow statue down the right side. Then heading to the bottom left to place my head onto the question mark and making sure to hit the blue switch. This opens the path to push the yellow statue. Another climb to the top to grab this extra head that was blocked by the yellow blocks before climbing up to the left and using the white spring to get to the piece. Now all I have to do is re-grab my first head from the question mark and head for the goal, as the head I just threw will land on a conveyor belt with the piece waiting at the end. One last climb and a throw bounce to top up the stage. Tab 4 introduces the Scary Fairy. She breaks through blocks and touching her makes Bonky go boom. The yellow key unlocks the path for our fairy-fine tunneler to clear the way. Coming up is a tight pickup jump into a precise corner jump that I actually nailed first try. It was so fast that I can get in front of the fairy to launch her out of the way, instead of the usual situation where you have to walk behind her. The keys unlock the blocks I left my head on. Now I can take the puzzle piece path, carefully avoiding this fairy and digging my own tunnel with headshots. The stage is neat in that the piece has its own route to the goal, so you don't even see about half the stage. I'd also like to say that I will never beat this stage as fast as I did here, ever again. 10-5 is an escort mission, grabbing the blue gap and baiting the fairy to dig for me. Normally you use 2 fairies in this stage, but we can make do with 1. I hit the red switch and get the fairy to dash right, then follow her to get her to dash left, while leaving the blue gap under the yellow switch. I snatch the orange gap on the way left and stick it in the narrow tunnel, then I hit the green and blue switches before using the gap to hit the yellow switch. Miss Fairy needs to dig right, and I need to throw this blue gap close to the edge, and grab the spring. Spring can trigger question marks as well. I also need to bounce and shoot this block for the green key, then re-grab the blue gap. It can be a little tough. Unlock the green key block and make sure to get out of Miss Fairy's way, then play a dangerous game to get her to charge sooner. A gap juke to get around her for the final piece, and a final headshot to hit all these blocks to finish off the run. Hey, if you're still here, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're wondering where this idea came from, it was inspired by the Zelda speedrunner Bewildebeest, and their 100% commentary speedruns. Their game knowledge, sense of humor, and voice makes for a very enjoyable and informative experience that made me want more, though I couldn't really find any more like theirs. It also made me realize how much more enjoyable a speedrun is to watch when you understand what is going on, the tricks being used, and so on. So I figured I'd give it a try myself with a Toa fan game that I thought would make for a really cool run. If you have any suggestions for other games you'd like to see, feel free to let me know. Though I have a few already I'm interested in. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.